Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Eid Mubarak, everyone. Hope you're having a good Eid today, inshallah. This video I'm making because there will not be a show today. I might premiere this video during the show time tomorrow for Thursday, the 29th. But I'm not gonna have a show to because we have things to do. And Jaffer's busy, I'm busy, and Mubarak's busy. So I'm making this video here because I need to cover the Second Crusades. And the last the last show we did obviously was about Ramadan, and um just a little bit of backstory, right? So obviously this video today, um this video today will be about this. I'll cover the Second Crusade, the Third Crusade, and Salah ad-Din al-Ayyubi, and then the Fourth Crusade, and then that I finish the Crusades. Um, I don't think it'll take me that long. Try to get it those three in under half an hour. Inshallah. But yeah, I will try to cover those to the best of my knowledge, and best of my abilities without having these super long. And trying to be concise. But yeah, so I obviously I love history, right? So when I was looking up stuff about Lamakan, the history behind it, it was just honestly, it wasn't like fun. It was just more intriguing that like people believe this like wholeheartedly to this day. It was quite interesting to see the folks try and justify their belief in this, and just learning just all the little tidbits here and there. And obviously, it's always fun to learn history so that you can know what to avoid. So if someone comes to you in the future and is like, "Hey, this is a holy, spiritual place. You can become one with God," and then come to find out, just not the case. Hoot Lama Khan. I repeat, low. Hoot Lama Khan is in Pakistan. Yeah, so you come take it someplace special, great. It's not, all right? This is why it's important for Muslims to know history, so you can know what to avoid, and have the requisite knowledge to know something sounds kind of too good to be true, right? So let's let me cover the Second Crusade. Let me load up the map here. Um, so quick recap of the First Crusades. The First Crusades, obviously, the um Holy Roman Empire and Pope Urban II was like, we need to invade the Muslims, and we need to take control of Jerusalem because it is our destiny. And as Christians, we have a obligation here to come and secure Jerusalem, right? So Jerusalem is should be right here. Yeah. So we have a mission, a duty as Christians to come and free this land, right? So Pope Urban II will then start the Crusades. They come, they beat the Seljuks, then they beat them at the Battle of Antioch, which is right here. We covered that, and then they will go and take over Jerusalem, and that would be in control of the Roman Catholics, right? So the Eastern Roman Empire, which is like this in England, right? Um, that'll all they'll come together and beat the Muslims, right? So Second Crusades, 1147, 1149. You can technically say those are other dates. Essentially, I mentioned this in the first video that had the Muslims been united, right, had it not been the Seljuks, the Fatimids, and the Almoravids, all separate. The Almoravids, I don't even think they were part of it, but just saying, had the Muslim Empire state been united together at the front, then these things don't transpire the way that they do, right? And essentially, long story short, because the Second Crusades aren't as eventful as the First Crusades, or the Third Crusade. So essentially, the when the Catholics and the Christians basically, when they were trying to expand their control, in Cairo and into other parts of Egypt, they were constantly sending troops over and seizing places and trying to start taking control and expanding their territorial control, um, for these places, right? and it's essentially what happens is they get to this like one port or this one area, right? In Fatimid Egypt, right? And the Fatimids basically petition Nuruddin Azingi to come send help, or I don't know if it was Nuruddin Azingi at the time, but it was one of the Seljuk emperors, Khalifas, to come and offer help. And so they agreed that yes, we'll work together for this to repel the Crusaders. And so the Crusaders heard about the Seljuks coming to help the Fatimids, or vice versa. And then they said, okay, this is going to be too much. So they just left and went home. So Second Crusades ended with the Muslims holding their ground and winning that defensive, decisive battle, and taking and just warding off the attacks from the Christians, right? So Second Crusades is now a win, right? So the Muslims are now 101. It's a tied score. And then, right, before we get into the Third Crusades, I need to briefly cover the leader of the Muslim army and the Muslims for the Third Crusade. Many people know him, Salahuddin al-Ayyubi. He's also known as Sal al-Adin by the Europeans because they can't, for some reason, pronounce Arabic names. Anyway, so Salahuddin al-Ayyubi, he's also known for leader of the Ayyubid Sultanate, which didn't last very long, but let's get into Salahuddin al-Ayyubi. So, Salahuddin al-Ayyubi, may Allah be pleased with him. He was born into the Seljuk Empire. His uncle was under Nuruddin Zengi, the leader or one of the like military leaders, or I think he was maybe the leader of the Seljuk Empire. Anyway, so um, just like it was the case for everyone, every boy at the time, you would study combat. You would study, with scholars, and the hadith and stuff like that, history of the religion, and just knowing how to fight and strategize. That would be a big point for the more like upper classish type of kids, right? So, for example, Khalid, right? So Khalid ibn al-Walid, right? His dad al-Walid was one of the richest folks in uh Mecca, right? And so because of that, Khalid was afforded the knowledge and necessary tools to become this great military commander later on in life because he was able to study early early on all these like tactics in war. So you see that plays a part, right? And Salahuddin Ayyubi, again, his uncle was directly under Nuruddin Azengi, and essentially Nuruddin Azengi, his the thing for him was he really wanted to retake Jerusalem from the Catholics, the Christians, and to bring it back to Muslim hands, right? And so he knew that in order to do this, right, similar to how they just stopped the Second Crusades, they had to come together, right? He sent Salahuddin Ayyubi into the Fatimid Caliphate Empire, whatever you want to call them, and so Salahuddin Ayyubi slowly started to plant the seeds of Sunni Islam into the Fatimids, right? And again, the Fatimids were the first Shi'i caliphate, and so they again founded a lot. What's the sorry. They founded that, and so he sent Salahuddin al-Ayyubi kind of to not really destroy from the inside, but to change it from the inside, to change it from a Shi'i caliphate to a Sunni caliphate. Right? And so um, the Shi'is obviously do not like Salahuddin al-Ayyubi because of the things that transpired. So he a bunch of okay. So just a quick side note caveat, right? Um, if this was the case and people and it worked how like ideally you would want things to work out, right? Where it's like okay, I want everyone to come together, right, as Muslims, and just know that hey, we have a common enemy here, and we need to work together to defeat this enemy, and so that way we can go on and excuse me, we can go on and liberate ourselves from the shackles of um this thing right here, right? Okay, hold on one second. Okay, sorry about that. I had a phone call. All right, so then, so ideally it'll work right where if folks just if folks just say, hey, we need to come together, and you defeat defeat the only enemy we have, because the Muslims we supposed to be together. We could then go from there, and everything would be situated and handled uh very I guess diplomatically, right? Um, whereas how things actually work, right? So the history is the history is not ideal, right? Salah ad-Din al-Ayyubi would spend more time fighting other Muslims, and conquering other Muslims' land and territories, uh, than he would be attacking the actual Crusaders. So um, after enough time passed away, and Salah ad-Din al-Ayyubi would rise his ranks higher and higher in the Fatimid Caliphate. He would swear loyalty to the Fatimids. Basically, he basically, like, in terms that we know, he signed a bay'ah to the Fatimid Caliphate, right? And so he would do that and give a khutbah, right? Or have someone give a khutbah, right? And so how it worked in the Fatimid lands, right? Fatimid Egypt, right? You would have to mention, like, the Khalifa of the Fatimids in your khutbah for Juma, right? And then one day, Salahuddin al-Ayyubi was like, "All right, give the khutbah this time, but don't mention any Fatimid Caliphate at all. It's not to be mentioned at all." And essentially, Salahuddin al-Ayyubi had slowly transitioned Fatimid Egypt from Shia to Sunni, right? And then he got to an equal, I guess, footing as the Fatimid Caliphate. The Fatimid Caliphate then passes away. However, folks want to figure out how it happened, it happened along those best. And then the Fatimids are now controlled by Salahuddin Ayyubi. And then uh, the Nuruddin Azengi, right, who was the teacher of Salahuddin Ayyubi, he was his a mentor, the leader of the Seljuks, right? He's like, okay, cool. Now that you have taken over the Fatimid Egypt, you have done your job. You are my vassal. You are under me. So come back to and go ahead and give me control over Fatima Egypt, so that we can come together and liberate Jerusalem and the lands taken by the Christians, right? Okay. So uh, Salahuddin al-Ayyubi is looking at him like, um, listen, akhi, no, I'm king of this empire. I did all the hard work. Uh, I planted all the seeds that will lead us here. So you can go ahead and just give me all of your land instead, as I'm more fit to be a leader than you are. So me giving it over to you, old man, it's not happening. And so Nuruddin Zengi is furious. He's like, Saladin, like, what? This is not, we don't have time for this, right? So basically, Nuruddin Zengi and Salahuddin Ayyubi, they're about to have another a fitna, you can call it, right? Another Islamic civil war. But before Nuruddin Zengi actually gets to have a civil war, and the civil war actually happens, he passes away. And him passing away stops the war from happening, and then Salahuddin Ayyubi has to then go into Seljuk land, and to take out some of the important oppositions to his rule and authority. And again, like, ideally, if we could avoid that, great. But that's not what's going to be the case. And so he's laying siege to many different places, Damascus, etc., etc. And he then gets control, right, fully, of Seljuk land, Fatimid land, right? And so for the first time since the Khalifa Rashidun, we have unity in the Muslim land, right? Now it wasn't obtained in the best way. But again, you would be naive to think that, like, someone's going to just combine Muslims, because similar to Salahuddin al-Ayyubi, right? He he's not an isolated incident as far as someone who says, okay, I have land and I have a kingdom of sorts. I'm not giving this over to you just because you want me to. That's not how it's gonna work. I'm never doing it to you. So you can, if you want it from me, but come kill me for it. And so that's what happens, unfortunately, in a lot of history, which that's how it works, right? And Salahuddin al-Ayyubi is renowned and a Muslim hero still. So you have to be able to accept the times for how things worked back then, and just know that certain things, like that happened back then, wouldn't happen today, or couldn't happen today, and to like chastise someone back then for the things that they had to do when you're not um you're not faced with this scenario or these events that are transpiring. Like basically the 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 Catholics just decided not to fight the Second Crusades realistically at a certain point. But for the most part, right, you're the Muslims, right? Um, all you've seen is that they just come in there just like just folks of just iron and steel. They have these giant like just shields and swords, and they're just like the arrows you guys shoot at them don't like damage them at all. They don't get hurt by the arrows you shoot because it doesn't like go through their armor, and they're just like warmongering, just coming place to place, just destroying left and right, and like like that's on your horizon. You have other Muslims fighting against you as well, and then you have whole theological divides between the Sunni and Shiite, right? So Salahuddin al-Ayyubi, um, may Allah be pleased with him. He unites the Muslims, right? The Seljuks, Fatimids, right? And by doing so now, finally, after consolidating the empire, right? Salahuddin al-Ayyubi can now finally turn his attention to the Crusades, right? And again, the goal obviously is to eventually free Jerusalem from control of the Europeans and the European invaders, and defeat Jerusalem from that, right? Okay, so now we finally get to the Second Crusades, which the Second Crusades involved two major players. Obviously, I just finished covering Salahuddin al-Ayyubi of the Ayyubi Sultanate, and the second person, he's known as Alex, right? Alex Lionheart. So Alex Lionheart, not gonna give him as much detailed backstory as I did Salahuddin al because I don't care as much. He's not Muslim. But I will give him credit. I'll give him credit for mostly the entirety of my Second Crusade coverage. He like he was him. Like I don't like. There's no other way to put it. He was him. Alex Lionheart. He was a prince of England, and he swore his allegiance to go fight in the Crusades. So when the Second Crusades were, or no, sorry, the Third Crusades were called into action, um, Alex Lionheart is the leader of the Second Crusades versus Salahuddin al-Ayyubi. And they would like it's they would have many like fierce battles and strategies back and forth, trying to figure out a way to overcome trying to figure out a way to overcome each other's ideas and strategies that one another had placed. So it'd be it'd be back and forth. But listen, so again, I don't I don't really give credit that often, right? But this man, um, Alex Lionheart was like a menace. Like this man was causing havoc. There is reports, and this is how you know. Like just if you're ever studying like the history of wars or battles, right? And if the historians for one side, right? If the historians for the side of the folks that won and that lost both tell you about one person, and they give you the same account, that person that is probably all true. So the stories you hear about Alex Lionheart is like he really was like just fighting off 10 men at one time, just not falling down, not like dying. Like he just is like this like unkillable zombie of the Crusaders. Like this man is really him. And so they Salahuddin and him would go back and forth just as strategists, as fighters, um, for a good while. And eventually it'll lead us to the Battle of Hattin. Um, the Battle of Hattin would happen. Hold on 1 second. The Battle of Hattin would happen right outside of, not outside, but it'd be near Jerusalem. And this was a battle to. This is a battle sort of like how um the siege of Antioch led to the oh wait, sorry. Sort of how the siege of Antioch led to the basically the end of the First Crusades. This battle right here, the Battle of Hattin, which would essentially lead us to the end of the Third Crusades, and what happens and transpires would be that, right? So essentially, right, Salahuddin al-Ayyubi, He is perched up, which I'll show you whenever this loads. He's perched up on this mountaintop, has a tent there, and obviously we know the even to this day, and it always has been, the Arabian horses, right? The best horses probably in the world. They're very fast, agile. So okay, cool, cool. So um, essentially, right? This they would be so the battle would take place somewhere in this vicinity, right? But Salahuddin al-Ayyubi, right, and the Seljuks and the Muslims army, right? They'd be perched up somewhere on a mountaintop, right? Or he would be, right, as the commander, and he would be relaying commands to his armies about what to do, involving each person in the battle, right? And so he would have his horse archers right here, right? So these people, right, the heavy cavalry, they would be riding around, right, on their horses and just causing havoc because again they're very fast, right? And they're just riding around shooting arrows at the Crusaders. And so this would go on for a good while, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. But the dissension amongst the ranks of the European invaders, the Crusaders, would have them ultimately fall, right? Because what happened, and this is similar to what happens with many other wars and stuff, is that the is that the soldiers become greedy, right? So there's okay, there's spoils to be had here, and I want I want to take this for myself. And so similar to the First Crusades, some of the soldiers of Alex Lionheart are defecting. They're not really into it anymore. Like, bro, we don't care. We want to go home. And so and so, with the Qadr of Allah, the Muslim would win this battle here, right? And this battle here, the Battle of Hattin, 1198. I want to say it was either 1198 or 1196, or maybe it was 1187. And, okay, it was like late 12th century. So it was either like it was 1187 or somewhere in the 1190 era. Anyway, the Battle of Hattin. I'm making right now, so I can't remember the exact date. But this battle, after this transpired, right, and the Muslims beat the European Crusaders, they then fully take control of Jerusalem, and that frees Jerusalem from the European invaders, the Crusaders. It's now over. And Salahuddin al-Ayyubi becomes immortalized. He becomes the person that's known for uniting the Muslims as a whole, as one, and also fighting off the Crusaders and liberating Jerusalem. Right. So Allah reward him for that. Right. And Ayyubid said told me it wouldn't last for that long. It was like 20 years total. Um, but that leads us into, right, the Fourth Crusades, which ironically wasn't really a crusade. Like no one, they didn't actually fight. So you could say this is I'm accounting as a win for the Muslims because the Christian goal is to overcome and overtake the Muslims, however you can do so. But that didn't happen. So they the Fourth Crusades, right? The Catholics are like, hey, listen, we need to we need to once again, I need everyone to come and go ahead and swear your loyalty and oath to come and take control and liberate Jerusalem, all right, our holy land from the Muslims, right, those savage Muslims, okay. And so if you do that, your name will be etched in glory and yada yada, yada, and you'll be immortalized in history, right? Okay. So there were some reports that they were raising like a million soldiers, right? Like a million is crazy. And they're raising them to take control uh and to go liberate Jerusalem once again from the Muslims, right? But somewhere along the way, as they're traveling through the Byzantine Empire, they run into a banished prince, or no, he was exiled prince of the Byzantine Empire, who got exiled by his uncle, and essentially he convinced them like, hey, listen, if you guys stop, don't go fight the Muslims yet or at all. Come with me over to take the Byzantine Empire, and then I will personally give you guys like a million gold or some insane number, um, and they are like, oh, free money, yeah, sure, we'll go do that. And so the Crusaders got freaking sidetracked, basically went to go fight the Byzantine Empire on behalf of this former prince that got exiled, and they overthrow the Byzantine Empire, conquer it, and the kid gets in charge, I want to say, but then like gets executed by his own son. It's crazy. I don't remember exactly if that was him or if that was a different emperor of the Byzantine Empire. But essentially, the Fourth Crusade ended with that. They kind of imploded and just basically they got sidetracked and went to go fight the Byzantine Empire instead of the Muslim Empire, and that'd be the end of the Crusades. And after this, we can finally get into this the rise of the Ottomans, and the whole purpose of this was to cover the Ottomans and get to Hamid al-Fatih, but then it didn't actually happen until recently. Uh, So I'm happy I got out of the way because I need to cover Muhammad Fatih and the Ottoman Empire, which I'll probably only cover like his father and then him because I mean, sure, the Ottomans are important. I mean, I love the Ottomans, but I mean, I need to just cover that because I was supposed to cover it for a video, for a show we were gonna do, on Muslim leaders, for the Archive show, but that didn't happen, obviously. And we have other things to cover because they keep certain things pop up, and we have to cover it as it happens. So, um, yeah, that is the Crusades. The next three Crusades are covered in that, and we wouldn't have. Oh, wait! I almost forgot. We almost had a fifth crusade, or some historians believe that this could have happened and been before the fourth crusade actually happened, right? So allegedly, right, there was supposed to be a children's crusade, and I just remember this right now because I'm thinking about I was thinking about the crusades. So the children's crusade, right, the child's crusade, right, was and this is similar to like whole like like don't believe in freaking Luke Malachi and all this dumb stuff, right? So the ya Allah, ya Allah. Okay, so this kid, right? How the story goes, Allah knows if the story's true or not. It sounds make believe, right? But this kid, he, this orphan kid, by the way, orphan kid. Gotta mention he's an orphan, right? So this orphan kid, he allegedly received this message from, and this note from this guy who knocks on his door and says, "Hey, uh, take this note and deliver it to the king," right? And so this note says that I am Jesus Christ, and I'm calling for a crusade of Jerusalem, right? But this crusade wouldn't be like any other crusades. This would be a peaceful crusade, and you guys will throw over and overthrow the Muslim empire peacefully, right? Without any bloodshed, because you will get them all to convert to Islam, right? I mean, you get them all to convert to Christianity. So there won't need to be any wars. All you have to do is just show up, right? So this kid goes like a missionary, and is spreading the message that he received letter from Jesus Christ, and he's going to they're going to help liberate, right, they're going to help liberate Jerusalem from the Muslims, but also the Muslims will know all of us Muslims are going to become Christians because of this kid's message that he got from Jesus Christ, right? Okay, and so he then eventually makes it all the way to the King of England. I want to say, that's the King of England. Or was it the King of Rome? Anyway, he makes it all the way to the king, right? And so, he convinces like a bunch of knights and stuff and folks to follow him, right? And so they're supposed to come all the way to the sea, right? And the sea is supposed to split like freaking Moses, right? It's supposed to split like Prophet Musa, and they're supposed to be able to walk across the sea all the way to Jerusalem. And upon arriving at Jerusalem, right, he will then give the note to the leader of the Muslims of Jerusalem, right, and then he will go and give this note to he will then go and give this note to the Muslims overall, and then all the Muslims will kumbaya and say hallelujah and become Christians, right? Okay, so everyone comes together, right? And They all march together to the sea, and so they get to the sea, right? And they're just sitting there waiting, like, okay, listen, boy, why is the water not freaking opening up? What kind of game you pulling here, right? And he's like, I'm sure it's gonna happen, right? So it's sure it's happening. And so, uh, the knights are like waiting for a while. Some reports say it was like a month. Some say it was three. But the water, it never starts open, and they don't just haphazardly go and have everyone be transported across the water, walk across the water to do something. It didn't happen, right? So most of the knights leave, and they're just done with him. And then so the only people that stay are the kids, right? The kids stay because they believe in him because he's a kid too. And they then seek passage on a ship to Jerusalem, right? Okay, and so these Christian kids, right, go on the ship to Jerusalem to go free it, right? And what actually happened to them was the ship actually got sold into slavery, and all all the kids on that ship, um, all the kids on that ship were sold into slavery and never heard from again. So don't go believe everything you hear. That reminded me of the Hulamacon. Don't just go believe stuff you hear just because someone tells you something like that. And like Jesus Christ did not come to Isa everybody and didn't come to some random kids and like, yo, listen kids, I'm Isa and come follow me. It didn't happen. So don't go believe everything you hear. All right. So I just had to leave on that note because I just remembered it just randomly about the Children's Crusade. So inshallah, you guys have a good rest of your day, and assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.